Hello everyone, can you hear me okay? Perfect. My name is Haddad. I am the head of AI product at Cox Communications. I think you heard from Eric earlier today, so you'll see a lot of similarities in what we're about to discuss. What I'm going to talk to you about today is what no one had told you about creating an AI product function. And I know some of you might not be in product, but trust me, it's going to be relatable. 2 years ago, we were asked to come up with an AI product function. So, think about what we should do from an AI product discipline, what kind of people we should hire, and all that comes with it. I had no playbook. I had no one to tell me what to do. I remember researching YouTube videos literally and saying, hey, what's an AI product? And there was not much, so I had to come up with it and think through it myself. 2 years later, we have 48 products live and well. We have 988 citizens developers. That doesn't even include our Claude Code and Claude Desktop users. And we have a whole discipline that now takes any product from 0 to 1, any idea basically from 0 to 1. So there is no secret sauce. I want to make sure you all understand this. There's no do these 5 things and everything's going to be great. I'm going to talk through the things that worked for us, but I just want to make sure that you realize there's no secret sauce. And it's not an algorithm problem. It's not about which model do you use. That's just part of the process. It's really about the function and what the function should be. What kind of people should we hire or not hire? What kind of process should we take or not take? And so I'm going to talk about 2 specific things today, and you'll see these in the entire conversation. The center and then the edge. The center is the product function. So if you're not familiar with product is basically those folks that take an idea, work with business, work with technology, and take it from, again, an idea all the way to market, whether market is internally from an enterprise perspective or customer facing. And so that was my mandate, right? Think about a product function. And then there's everybody else at the company who's trying to play around with AI. What should I build? What should I not build? And so I had to also think through those guys and what should we do for them. And that was basically what I'm going to speak to today are both those tracks. This is probably the most boring slide, and it's okay. But there's nothing about AI with this. What we realized that it is not about AI or thinking just from a new way of thinking, we were really thinking about it from process. So literally the boring stuff. We did PI planning, sprint planning, any of that, right? You might be like, well, that's just agile development. We needed that process, and that's the process that helped us become confident and be able to stand up in front of our executive leadership boards, in front of our engineering teams, and then in front of our business partners. So think about your technology teams, right? They needed a process so they can really think about, hey, what are the guardrails I should work through? What kind of process or plan I should work through so that we don't just spin around POC land, which is what happened originally. The other thing is when you have a plan and a process, you can go in front of your business stakeholders and say, hey, look, we are confident, we know what we're doing, we have a process, look at our plan. We would have a plan every single month that we are confident in, and we can show dates across the board on how to get, again, an AI product to market. Market could be enterprise, just to be clear. And then finally, our executives. We wanted to make sure we had sponsors in the room, whether it's our CTO, whether it's Eric, our CAIO, whoever it is that would help us fund and keep things moving. We wanted to make sure they understood what we were doing, and that's where the process really helped. I know it's boring, and you're like, oh my gosh, I thought AI is going to solve everything, but we needed to go back to the process. And we're maturing in that process now. We went from just typical PI planning to spec-driven development and things of that nature, but originally we really needed to focus on that process. And the other thing that I really wanted to focus on today is how did we get out of POC land, right? We kept, again, spinning originally, and then once we really thought about it, we had to make sure we define every use case that came to us. So people across the enterprise, whether it's internally in our team, an AI department team, or at a marketing team or whatever, would come to us and say, hey, I have a use case. I want to put AI in it, which is, I think, a lot of us hear this all the time. And what we did every single time, we made sure we defined that use case with them. We made sure that there was a product definition which sounds very simple, but trust me, when you answer these questions, you get to the crisp of it. You get to the real thing, because you don't want to walk around and think you're building an AI product, but you're really just in a POC. And that is the what is it? Why are we doing it? Who are we doing it for, really? How are we doing it? So think key capabilities and features, right, that you want in there. And then finally, the value. Value is so important as well, right? What are the KPIs we should be measuring? Why should we measure these specific KPIs? And the thing that we should also really focus on when it comes to value is not just come up with, hey, we want to make $1 million or whatever from this thing, or save $1 million. What's the baseline, and what are we trying to increase, decrease, whatever the case may be? And every time we stood in front of anybody, literally, whether it's a citizen developer that's trying to build their own little workflow, or an agent, or a whole enterprise that's trying to build products that's going to make their whole department more efficient, we asked those questions, and that was what really truly took us out of proof of concept after proof of concept and into 0 to 1. And the other key thing that we did is we ensured that we don't stay in POC for more than 4 to 6 weeks. If we don't see there's value in it, we move on. We don't want to keep just harping on it, right? Because there's time not to waste, right? So that was the key, and if I had to give you anything today, this is one thing that made us very successful and ensured we went from that 0 products at the enterprise level to 48, and probably more at this point. I'm just counting since last month. The other thing that I want to focus on today is what makes AI product development different than software. We've all been in software. I've been in software for 10 plus years, and then I moved into this AI product development, and I had to think through, like, what's different? How do I teach my team, who are not AI experts, by the way? I hired a bunch of product people that are now AI product managers, and I taught them the AI discipline, because AI is teachable. We're all still learning it. It's not like, it's done. And so with that, I was able to take what they know with product and then tweak it a little bit, whether it's within the process or what the acceptance criteria could be. Again, with product development and software, you test something, yes, no, right? Fail, pass, whatever. With AI product, now where the models are underneath it, what's good enough is more important. How does it break is more important, because the output changes every single time, right? And so that was part of our criteria, ensuring that every time we define a product and we're going through the requirements and so forth, we're also thinking about what's good enough, what makes it most accurate, what is the accuracy rate that we are okay with, precision rate, because these are just examples that you're seeing here. So if you're just categorizing a mailbox, category A versus B, you're not as concerned as predicting if somebody's going to call your call center for a billing question, then you're going to email a bunch of people you shouldn't have emailed, right? So it really matters what that percentage of precision is and accuracy. And that's just one little lever that we ensured that we thought about every single time when we're thinking about our product definition. The other part, so we went from product definition to ensure our acceptance criteria now has tweaks to the accuracy and precision, and now releasing is the next part. And the releasing, we also had to learn this the hard way. We realized that we can't just launch things, right? We just launch the product to the masses and see what happens. We needed to test it. And again, like I said before, QA testing, UA testing, you go through, can you guys hear me okay? Sorry. How about now? You go through a set of acceptance criteria, pass, fail, whatnot. Works, it didn't work. With this, we wanted to ensure, again, the output was right, wrong, good enough, whatever. And so we started scaling the way we tested and scaling the way we released. So think alpha, small, internal. I know these are not like brand new theories, but we applied them to this function. So alpha is our internal team. Beta, we added more users. It could be 10, it could be 100, just depends on the thing we're doing. And then, of course, V1 was to the masses. And so that really helped us learn. So between alpha and beta, we would find, oh no, we have to re-architect the whole thing. Between beta and V1, some enhancements, maybe the UI needs some fixing, whatever the case may be. And then, of course, V1 is like any other product. It's now version 1, it's out in the world, and people can access it, again, whoever the target audience is. Now, I focused a lot on the center, right? So I've talked a lot about the product function and the team that really helped the enterprise launch products across the enterprise. But like I mentioned, there's also everybody else. Everybody wants to play with AI. Everybody wants to build with AI. Everybody thinks they are mandatory that they have to build with AI. And we wanted to open those gates for them. We wanted to mature our product function, but we also wanted to ensure everybody that wants to play can play. And actually, it's not playing anymore. It's really part of their job now. And so what we did to make sure that they had the accessibility and the tools, we put guardrails. And really, we defined the guardrails between green, yellow, red. So think green, you're literally playing around, you're trying to test the tool, you're trying to think through like, does this tool work for me, doesn't work for me, I'm not touching any customer data, I'm really just playing around. Yellow is like when you start really thinking about, oh, now it's an individual productivity tool for me, or I'm building a workflow for my team, my little team. So there's more guardrails around that. And then red, really this is where it's like, you need to come to our council, and we need to think through, should this even go forward with using a citizen development tool versus an enterprise level tool, which is where we would take it to a development team. So you see the difference, right? With citizen developers, it's literally everybody else at the company that's not sitting in an AI department or as a software engineer or an AI engineer or whatever. It is your accountant, it is your finance guy, it's your marketing. They all want to play, they all want to do stuff, they all want to make their jobs more productive. And so we wanted to ensure we gave them the capability with the guardrails. And all of our tooling has the security. If anybody here is in security, don't worry, we talk to our security teams every single time. So that was one thing that we made sure that helped us scale to that citizen development community. And then the next thing I want to talk about is more about our change management arm and how shipping it wasn't the same as landing it. So I talked a lot about, we had all the right things, right? All the things in our toolbox, product definition, testing, all of the things that we had to do right. And then we're like, okay, it's time to launch, right? And adoption was a little bit slow in the beginning for any tool that we thought about. Why is it slow? What should we do differently? And that's where we brought in our change management arm and truly thought about it, because everything we've built within, at least in my department, is internal tools to make our employees more productive, or there's many value drivers, one of them is that. And so if you had to think about, okay, how do I go to market internally, it's the same steps, training, videos, think of it that way, community hours, lots of different parts to go to market to really make sure that our people they have all the tools that they need to be able to adopt, and not just, here you go, here's Cloud Code, go play, right? And so we wanted to make sure people understood why they're using the tool, what are they using it for, how to even differentiate the use cases that they had. That, yeah, this use case is truly AI verified, or AI, yes, you should use AI for it, versus not. Because there's a lot of times people would come to us and say, oh, I think AI is going to solve this. And I'm like, no, it's not. And so change management was so important, and it's part of the whole package that I wanted to speak to about, because we literally partnered with our change management team and our corporate comms team and everybody that needs to be involved to make sure we communicated all the different tools we had and why we have them, and the different types of reasons why you have this tool versus that tool. We even have an AI hub and so forth. Sorry. So I know I spoke a lot about the product, function, the center, and then the edge, which is our citizen developers. And what I realized in both of those arenas is, doesn't matter if I'm building for one, right, or I'm building for the entire enterprise, which could be thousands and thousands of employees. It's the same problem that we had, right? Is how do we communicate to them? What kind of training do they need? Where should a community really be part of the story? And what we realized is having community and having office hours was truly helpful. So people would come to office hours and would think through, hey, again, like I mentioned, does my use case require AI or not? And now they learned what to build, not how to use the tool only. And then community, we had tons of communities, whether it's for our citizen development community, our development communities, and those communities themselves helped become peer-to-peer tech support almost. They started learning how to ask the right questions of, how did you do this use case, and how did you solve this problem, and so forth. And from the community, we found unicorns within the company that know what to do, and now they're teaching their own teams and departments, and it became a ripple effect. And we sat in literally an AI, like a Shark Tank-like thing a week ago, and there was 20 different use cases from one department that's, I think, 100 people, and they've all created like things I couldn't even think about, only because we provided them something called NAN, which is a workflow tool, and Cloud Code, and the things that they built for their own teams, their own departments, makes them way more productive or efficient or whatever their KPI was. And it's just fascinating to see, because we started with these office hours, turned into community, and now there's people teaching other people within their own departments and building really valuable different products. So not to show off or anything, but I'm going to go back to the 988. And 988 is truly just citizen developers using one tool called NAN, which is just our workflow or agent building tool. Doesn't even count. We haven't even accounted for like Claude and Claude Enterprise that we just launched 2 weeks ago. And these again are people that were like, I have no idea how to get started, to now building multiple workflows. 60% of them come back again and build more than one workflow. And then of course, like I mentioned, 48 enterprise-grade V1 products launched at the company. So the boring stuff, the PI plan, and the process, and the program management, and the testing, all of that actually worked. We weren't stuck in POC. We knew when to get out of POC. And I know it's not, hey, where's AI? And I lost it again. Oh, there we go. Maybe I'm yelling too much. It's not about just, the model. I need to use Sonnet. I need to use GPT. Like all of that is very important, obviously, but there's also the other stuff that actually matters, and that's how we brought both worlds together to be able to accomplish these numbers. So if you're gonna take anything today, I talked a lot about different parts of our world, is start with the boring stuff, yes. The process is important. Think through your testing criteria and how you want to test different parts of your product, whether it's the alpha, beta that we did. Make sure your change management team is part of the story. Change management and cybersecurity is probably like on both arms are great partners in crime because they let you enable and move forward. And then don't get stuck with, the model is the problem. The model is the problem. Really think about the process around what you're working through in your day-to-day, and how you can enable your teams to get out of POC, build their own roadmaps, and be able to accomplish those roadmaps, right? Actually build out the different products in their roadmaps. And that's all I have for you today. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I'm going to throw you on the spot for a Q&A session. I'm sure there's a lot of folks in here building products, so let's start on this side of the room this time because I've been biased. Keep your hand up.
Yeah. So my name is Henry Zhao. I'm the VP of IT of Meteorological Power System, and I'm interested in your AI solutions, but I have a question on security. That overall you use installed the in-house AI models, or you use SaaS models? If you use SaaS, what kind of security measures you deploy? Thank you.
Can I repeat the question, just make sure? You're asking, are we using in-house models, or are we using any of the other models? And then what's the security measures, right?
Yeah, so I assume that you develop AI based on other models by the vendors, yeah? And so how do you develop your AI products? Is it on top of the models you installed in your own data center, or use SaaS?
Both. Yes, good question. So we have both. We have on-prem, and we have open source models that we enable. Actually, the whole 988 users are using on-prem models so that we can save on cost. But we have things like GPT OSS in there, and then of course we partner with companies like Claude, like we mentioned earlier, Anthropic, to use their Claude models, and we do that across whether we're in AWS, building things in AWS, or truly in Claude Code, and so we have both. Now from a security measure, like I said, we partnered heavily with our security team to ensure that we can enable our people and ourselves, and so there's a lot of work that might not be of interest here, but we ensured that we had the right guardrails, and we ensured that we pumped the system that we have with things like Prisma Airs, if you're familiar with it, to ensure we can see, observe what people are doing. True Foundry was another vendor that we use, which is where we ensure that it's an LLM gateway. We can see everything that's going through and ensuring that we can observe what people are doing to stay secure and let the masses do the things that they want to do. Hopefully that answers your question.
Question over here.
Hi, thanks. The old model was we submit our request to IT Central for some app, and we're number 78 on the list, which means they never get to us. I was interviewing some Australians, and for a global enterprise, their marketing team developed something which was great for the Australian market, but it didn't meet with the compliance or back-end or integrate with all the other softwares that they use globally at an enterprise level. So they developed it, and really it worked for the Australian market, and it's a POC that this is a valuable app, but then it goes to be developed for pan-enterprise. Does this fit within your framework? Because they might not have taken all the guardrails, and if they have to wait for approval before getting it, how long does that approval take if you have 400 proposals?
Yeah.
And you said we kill it if it's not done in 4 to 6 weeks. So how long does the approval take versus we want you to show results in 4 to 6 weeks?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think we just had the opportunity to be able to strip down to 6 weeks. With AI, I'm going to take pieces of what you said. With AI, you can get from an idea to reality in like 2 minutes, right? Not 2 minutes, but you can use Claude Code, be like, this is my idea, and this is what I'm thinking. And then when you go to your sponsors or your executives or whoever it is, the idea needs to have value. Value does not have to be a full-on blown business case where, hey, 300 users equals this many millions of whatever, right? It can really be like you strip down to the value drivers that you think will take this product to whatever X number and really hone in on that. And sometimes, honestly, we've seen this in a lot of our conversations where you just have to trust and go, because with AI, it's also new. Like, we don't have a lot of look-backs. We will do look-backs, but sometimes you just have to say, hey, we see a lot of opportunity in this. We've done all the right product fit research, maybe. We've seen the POC land really well, and the data out of that POC land really well, and we're gonna take that and assume a few things and say, hey, here's what we think would happen if we went to market with this. And that's how we would have done it. But then we would do the what, why, how, for sure, because you don't want to miss on capabilities that you would have missed on just launching it as is or whatever the case has been.
Second last question.
Sure.
Yeah. Thank you so much for the great talk. I have a quick question on model interpretability, because that's kind of a growing challenge in AI. So when you're talking about you have multiple clients like 988, which is wonderful, then what kind of measures you follow basically to figure out whether you can increase the model interpretability, and also how you're defining the security?
Yeah, for sure. So with models, let's take the 988, right? I'm not saying you use Haiku and you use GPT or whatever. What we did is we have a gateway. We provide people access to open source models. They could be Mistral all the way to GPT OSS. And we have like a little, literally I'm showing you a matrix in my head, a matrix that says, hey, if you have this use case or these types of use case, use this model. And that's all we did. We didn't box them into, you must use this for that kind of thing, especially because this is on-prem model, so it really doesn't cost us as much as using, any of the other types of models. So that's one thing. From a security perspective, there's so many arms to that question. I can tell you, again, we have our LLM gateway is really important. It really gave our security team the ease of like, okay, I can see everything. Especially for that 988, for example, all of the workflows that people pump through the system, like I think Eric even mentioned, we have 2 million workflows running. 2 million runs of workflows, not 2 million workflows. Anyway, those are all going through like a GitHub repo that we can scan, and then there's like security. Like there's so many parts of the process where we can see what you're doing that you can't just like mess with us, right? Like prompt injection and all of that. We want to make sure we catch the malicious intent wherever we can, as much as we can, but we're not squeezing too much from a security perspective.
Okay, last question on this side.
Hi, I'm Sandy Pulvati, CIO for Crystal Clean. To what extent do you give access to the citizen developers? Do you provide a framework where they can create agents? Do you let them get into LLMs? How do you provide
The
where
access.
they don't go?
Yeah,
Once?
great question. So the boring stuff, you have to go through our ID system and actually request access. So I know you requested access to X tool, and now you're in the system as somebody with access. But that's the boring stuff. Other than I just mentioned, everything that goes through this specific tool is linked to our Palo Alto specific tooling with Prisma Airs. We, like I said, we push all of the code, because it's just JSON. The tool that we're using is basically JSON. That ends up in a repo. The repo gets scanned for any issues and so forth. So there's a lot of work around that to make sure we're secure. Sorry, I forgot the next part of your question about the LLMs. From an LLM gateway perspective, we provide people with specific models are going through our gateway on purpose so that we can see, hey, again, Dana requested X LLM or whatnot. Mostly are open source, and then if you want to use any of the other models, the Anthropic models that are not open source, then you need an Anthropic key, right? And so we can also watch that specifically. And there's a huge partnership with Claude right now. I think Eric also mentioned on observability that way too.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. I think that's it.
We've actually got one more question, if you
Okay.
can. We've a couple minutes left here. Anyone else have a quick question? Oh,
you mentioned that one of the criteria for knowing the use case is a good fit for AI is verification. How do you determine that?
Is what, sorry?
Verification or the verifiability? I thought I heard that.
The valuation of it?
Yeah, evaluation.
Yeah, how do we do that? So the way we think about this, and this is again in the details a little bit, but we think about the tool that we're building. Because I know what it is, the capabilities of it, who is my target, right? Who am I building it for, and so forth. Okay, sorry, making sure this is still working. We go back to what are the specific value drivers that this specific tool or even feature within the tool that's going to give back to the business. And sometimes these value drivers have a baseline that we can go back to and think through. And then if we go through alpha testing, like I mentioned, or even beta testing, I can start running data to understand if it's good enough or not. Those are a little bit of the what we do to think through the value and make sure there is value. But value is still a topic I think everybody has right now on ensuring that we can build things for value. But those are small things we did. POC sometimes, and last thought here, because I see the panelists coming up, POC sometimes, if you can't say there's a fit to your company, to your department, to your whatnot, that's where they fail truly. And then if you're like spinning and spinning on making it work, that means it doesn't work, right? So that's a lot of the things that we learned as well, the hard way, but we learned it. Thank you all.